It is no coincidence that people who speak well often find more advantages in their work, life, and relationships. Those who know how to communicate effectively can always draw goodwill from others towards themselves. Their words command attention. You see, when a group of friends hangs out, the eloquent speaker is usually the one who steers the conversation. Or in meetings, when someone needs to speak spontaneously on behalf of the group, those with good communication skills make others feel at ease, instantly uttering beautiful and impactful words. Perhaps the ability to speak skillfully comes partly from natural talent, but if you observe closely, you'll realize that these individuals all share common speaking techniques, or rather, common tips that help a person become more articulate. The ability to speak well can be cultivated through practice, and all of us can achieve this. Today, I would like to share with you some tips to help you communicate eloquently, based on the book, The Dignity of Words, by Lee Ki Chul, a speechwriter for the Korean president. Besides that, he also runs a super publishing company and frequently gives lectures at major universities in Korea, including Seoul National University. If you also wish to become a more eloquent and captivating speaker, or to be someone cherished by those around you for your communication skills, then listen to the 4 speaking tips I will share today. You know, sometimes silence is more important than speaking. In communication, a crucial element for 2 people to continue a conversation is for both sides to share stories about themselves when you get to speak, but also when you give the other person space to express their thoughts. The book tells a wonderful story about this, involving former President Obama. While he was delivering a speech to the public, a man suddenly stood up to protest an immigration policy that he believed should not be passed. Immediately, the security guards were ready to drag the man out. But before a confrontation could occur, Obama stopped the guards and said there was no need to remove him. Instead, the president listened to the man until he had finished speaking. Obama then said the man was simply worried about his loved ones, emphasizing the need to show respect to those who wish to speak. Afterwards, the media universally praised Obama's handling of the situation and his communicative dignity, even commending his admirable ability to respect someone's right to speak, despite disagreeing with their viewpoint. This is a core lesson we must learn from this story. In normal conversations or discussions, even if we hold opposing views, we should respect the other person's right to speak by remaining silent. And one of the best ways to show respect to others when we communicate is to listen. Think about it: if you meet a long-lost friend and the 2 of you talk, but from beginning to end, they only talk about themselves. You barely get a few words in before they change the subject, pulling all the attention back to them. I'm sure that next time, you won't want to chat, confide, or even meet this friend again. Communication requires interaction, a back and forth where both sides talk about themselves. If only one person is endlessly talking about their own affairs, then that's not a conversation. It's more like a solo therapy session where one person just recounts their story. The book has a quote I find very profound: "Respect is opening your ears to the other person. The wisdom of life always comes from knowing how to listen, while disaster always originates from words. As the ancients said, calamity comes from the mouth, right? Therefore, please remember that in conversation, sometimes silence is more important." The book offers a communication secret from a famous MC that I find incredibly useful, so I want to share it with you. Speak once, listen twice, respond thrice. Speak once to express your own opinion. Listen twice to understand that you need to speak less and listen more. Respond thrice means you need to provide direct feedback on the issue, on the other person's words, more often. When you respond this way, the other person will definitely enjoy talking to you. There are many techniques we can use to respond in normal conversation. I always apply a few tips that I find very effective. 1. Don't create pressure for the other person. You can look into their eyes when talking to them. This isn't a fixed, hypnotic, or emotionless stare, but rather a focused, attentive gaze directed at them and the content they are speaking. When you look into their eyes, you will pay more attention to what they are sharing, instead of focusing too much on what you'll say next. And when you look at the other person, they themselves will feel that you are listening to them, that you care and value what they're saying. 2. You can respond through action. Occasionally nod while listening and combine this with questions that show interest and curiosity about their content. For example, really? Or, and then what happened? These types of questions will express your emotions and also convey to the other person that you are sensing their words and are very interested in their story. If you don't have this habit, you can consciously practice and remind yourself to do so from the start. But you need to remember that consciously practicing here means you practice with purpose and genuinely express sincere emotions when listening to truly connect with the other person. It doesn't mean exaggerating actions and emotions, forcing yourself to nod and make eye contact without truly paying attention. This will make the other person feel you are insincere and cause the conversation to become awkward and quickly end. The 2 tips above mainly showed you how to converse in a passive role, meaning as a listener. The next 2 tips will show you how to speak in an active role. When you chat or, more accurately, gossip with friends, you can tell countless stories. But this style of speaking is not suitable in many situations. For example, when you have to express your opinion in class, at a meeting, or when attending an event. In these situations, we usually see 2 types of people. The first type is those who are shy or dare not speak. When they have to speak, their minds go blank. They fear what they say might be wrong. Their self-doubt and unwillingness to express their opinions prevent others from having the opportunity to understand them. The second type is those who tend to speak at length without focus. These people are often very confident but go overboard in self-expression. When they have a chance to speak, they fear they won't get to say everything. That's why they talk extensively, rambling on, which causes others to lose goodwill towards them. Sometimes, the time they spend talking becomes a burden for the listener. So, the best way to express yourself and gain goodwill from others is to speak concisely, clearly, and to the point. The method I often use when I need to speak unexpectedly is to quickly jot down an outline on my phone and then speak according to it. If time is too short to write it down, you can quickly think of 2 to 4 keywords in your head and then speak about each point in turn based on those keywords. Another small tip is to present your ideas using a list format: first, second, third. Why do leaders often begin their speeches with, "Today I have 3 things to share, first, second, third"? That's because this speaking style helps you present content logically and creates a sense of persuasion for the listener. You can apply this even when interviewing for a job. You can introduce yourself or express your views using keyword development combined with a list format: first, second, third. This will yield very positive results. Even if the content of point 1, point 2, or point 3 isn't directly related, it will make the interviewer feel that you have prepared thoroughly for the interview and are a well-rounded individual with a thoughtful character, which will earn you a lot of goodwill. Furthermore, there is a versatile formula you can apply in situations where you are suddenly called upon to speak or when you have to speak in front of a crowd. It's the asterisk thank, reflect, envision asterisk asterisk formula. Thank asterisk asterisk. Add words of thanks such as, "Thank you to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak," or "Thank you to the company," or "Thank you to my colleagues," and so on. Reflect asterisk asterisk. Here you summarize the issue. For example, looking back over the past period, what have I learned? What knowledge, skills, or work attitudes? Envision, of course, I still have many things to learn in the coming time. I will need to make more effort in what area? Finally, you can add a wish to everyone to conclude your speech more completely. Of course, those who speak well often have a rich vocabulary and a strong foundation of knowledge. Reading more books will help you accumulate this. The more you read, the more your ability to express yourself through language and your thinking will develop. From there, using the same speaking formula, the content you speak and the words you use will have much greater impact and persuasiveness with others. There's a story like this. One day, a painter named Cho invited art lovers to his home to admire some artworks. These people all liked Artist A's works and disliked Artist B's works. When everyone had arrived, Cho first presented Artist B's work for everyone to see. As soon as they saw the painting, they all began to criticize and find fault with everything. At this moment, Cho said, "I apologize, I made a mistake. This is not Artist B's work, but Artist A's work." At that, the entire group was left embarrassed. This story contains a lesson. Be careful not to fall into prejudice when you open your mouth to say anything. One communication skill we need to pay attention to is not to hastily and carelessly assume that our own thoughts are without flaws. When you actively criticize, or when others come to ask for your opinion, your criticism needs to be focused on the issue, not aimed at the person. Your intention here is to resolve things better, according to your wishes, not to target that person. Because criticism often leads us astray. It can make you appear to be putting yourself on a higher pedestal, or it can even deform into insults or attacks on others. In life, to do things is hard, but to open one's mouth and find fault with others is very easy. However, doing so only lowers your own dignity. Gradually, you will lose friends. Above are 4 tips for communication so you can speak eloquently, gain goodwill, and influence others. Each of us has dignity, and the words we utter must also have dignity. The book shares a philosophy that communicating with others not only requires technique but also attitude. Technique requires practice, but attitude requires understanding. Hopefully, through today's sharing, you can learn from these insights to enhance your own communication skills.